JT Realmuto is hurt, and we need replacements. Up next on Fantasy Baseball Today in 5. Welcome into FBT in 5 on Wednesday, June 12th. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Chris Towers, and the big news from Tuesday is that JT Realmuto is scheduled to undergo a meniscectomy on his right knee.
You got it. Yeah, you got it.
And was placed on the IL. Apparently, he's been playing through the injury for nearly a month, and Realmuto is set to miss about another month now, which sets him up to return right after the All-Star break. A big blow. We lose the top 5 catcher in fantasy baseball. If you play in a shallow one-catcher league, who would you prefer, Chris, between Logan O'Hoppe and Francisco Alvarez?
I think they have pretty similar skill sets, very power forward, although that hasn't really been there for O'Hoppe this season. I would prioritize Alvarez. I just think there's a little more upside there. Worried how he's going to hit coming back from that thumb injury, but I'll take the chance on him.
If those two are gone, I think the next name's up in a one-catcher league. You could look at a Shea Langoliers or a Tyler Stevenson type. What about two-catcher leagues? 3 names. Could be out there in 12-team roto leagues. Patrick Bailey, Keibert Ruiz, Ivan Herrera. They're all 30% rostered or less.
I believe I have it ranked Herrera or Bailey, but Bailey versus Herrera is very close, and I really like a lot of what we've seen from Bailey so far this season. He has cut his strikeout rate from 28 to 20%. He has actually improved his quality of contact. Alongside that, he is an elite defensive player, so there's not really any playing time concern there. I think Patrick Bailey has been unfairly overlooked from a fantasy perspective. I really like what we've seen from him so far this season.
In deeper two-catcher leagues, good luck. But I'll throw some names out there. Corey Lee had 3 hits on Tuesday. He's been playing more for the White Sox. Tyler Soderstrom has homered in 2 straight. And JT Realmuto's replacement is Garrett Stubbs. He went 1 for 4 with his 4th stolen base. Some sneaky speed. I guess that could potentially be helpful. Anyone stand out here, Chris? Deeper two-catcher leagues?
I don't think stand out is exactly the word I would use, but I do think Tyler Soderstrom is clear of the other guys. Maybe not head and shoulders. Maybe the other guys are very short, and so it's not saying much to be head and shoulders over them, if I can go with that analogy. But either way, I think the biggest thing that Tyler Soderstrom has going for him, he's young, 22 years old. He was a top prospect, struggled last season, but he's not really playing catcher very much. And that's actually not a bad thing, because it, 1, reduces the risk of injury, although that's less of a concern with these guys at this roster rate. But 2, it just opens up the potential for more playing time for Tyler Soderstrom. If he can get hot, there is the potential for him to work his way into something like an everyday role. He was hitting well at AAA with an 882 OPS, 7 homers in 27 games. Clearly the best pedigree of this group. So yeah, I would prefer Tyler Soderstrom of any of those guys.
And 2 names you could look at in a trade. Sean Murphy. All the Atlanta Braves have been disappointments outside of Marcell Ozuna. I still think they're going to turn it around, Sean Murphy included. And if you play in a two-catcher league, Gabriel Moreno, he's also been a disappointment. But in two-catcher leagues, you really just want guys that play and are okay. And I think Gabriel Moreno can be just that. Let's wrap up with a quick thought on Drew Thorpe's debut. He was at the Mariners here on Tuesday, 5 innings, 2 runs, 1 of those earned, with 4 strikeouts, 11 whiffs on 98 pitches. That changeup was as advertised, his most used pitch, threw it 39% of the time. 7 of his 11 whiffs came on that changeup. What were your thoughts on Drew Thorpe's debut, and would you be looking to add him in fantasy?
Yeah, I think he's worth adding. And I say that as someone who is pretty skeptical that Drew Thorpe has a ton of upside. You might see really, really good minor league numbers, 33% strikeout rate last season. He's a pretty much consensus top 100, more like top 75 prospect. You might look at that and say, hey, this is a chance to get some upside. I'm actually not sure there's all that much upside here. The changeup is an incredible pitch. Everything else looks pretty average. And so I think the upside here is maybe there's a path to something like what Zach Gallen has done, but that's like a 90th percentile. I think the realistic upside is more the good versions of Merrill Kelly and Miles Michaelis and those types of guys who are never dominant, but are always pretty good when things are going well. I think Drew Thorpe can be that kind of guy. It's just terrible team context, terrible defense, very little win potential. It's not an overall super appealing package, but I think he's worth adding in, a decent amount of the 12 team leagues out there.
All right. For more extensive fantasy baseball coverage, listen to the Fantasy Baseball Today podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, the Odyssey app, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Thanks for listening to Fantasy Baseball Today in 5, and we will be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.